another Aligner Insider podcast. Well, hello, everybody in podcast land. Welcome to another Aligner Insider podcast. I am Dean Steinman, President of Ortho Marketing, and to my left today is the world famous, super amazing, very strikingly handsome Dr. Barry
Indeed.
Glaser.
Yeah, keep going.
That's it for today. It's
Hey,
only it's only a
Dean.
Thursday.
How are you, Dean? Thanks for
Uh,
that introduction.
uh,
Right back at you there, buddy.
my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Winter
um,
wonderland out there today.
it is. It's today is December 17th, 2020, and those of you that are on the East Coast and Northeast in the United States, you woke up to a lot of white. So it's like we have a white Christmas this year, which is always fun and festive there. So 2020, what a year it's been. And let's talk a little bit about Aligner Insider this year and how things have changed for us, and how we adapted, because everybody that's listening to our podcast have heard us use the term adapt or die many, 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 many times. And uh, according to the great Billy Bean. And
Exactly.
some of the, so just as a recap, let's talk a little bit some of the things that Aligner Insider is doing now and has available wasn't there in 2019. First off, we are pretty much converted into a large media company, bringing education and digital access through many different platforms. Some of the platforms obviously are our core, which is our video library, which is
Mhm.
all educational videos provided by Dr. Glaser, myself, and special guests who have helped us out as well. So those who have helped out and been a contributor, thank you so much. And there are hundreds of videos available on the website for you to take your practice to the next level. From my standpoint, I have different videos about marketing trends, social media, website, SEO, reviews, how to work with your staff, different platforms on marketing. And Barry, what are some of the titles or functions of some of the videos that you have up as well from your side?
So I've got a whole series on basic aligner biomechanics, how aligners interact with teeth and some of the biomechanical principles that you would need to know. Then we've got a whole section on case presentations based on malocclusion. So if you have a challenging class 2 teen case that's hyperdivergent, you're not quite sure, what the do's and don'ts are. We've got tons of case presentations where I go in detail, diagnosis, treatment planning, ClinCheck treatment planning. So we've got those. We've got a whole bunch of quick tips where we talk about, how I use, let's say, dental monitoring and some other telehealth platforms to streamline my practice. So I've kind of tried to cover all the areas of aligner practice, both from a clinical orthodontic perspective, as well as practice management, practice development, digital tools, and that as well. So I think if you've got a question about how the cool kids are doing it, we should have the answer.
There you go. So there's a lot of great stuff, and we've gotten some great feedback from it. So guys, if you get a chance, sign up for alignerinsider.com and become a member. Then at the same time, we've got a lot of other great opportunities to learn and to communicate. We have a very large growing closed Facebook group that through Aligner Insider Clinical Chat to communicate with your colleagues. And let's talk a little bit about that, Baron. As far as talk about a little the parts of the chat that is available and some of the conversations going down.
Yeah, so your Facebook education has become really big over the last, let's say, 2 to 4 years, and there's a variety of groups, as I think that most people listening to this podcast are aware of. We're closing in on our 4,000th member, so we've developed a nice following over the last a couple of years. So what we try to do there, I try to leave that as an open forum. We tried, and I think I've done a pretty good job of moderating it to keep it positive, to prevent what happens in some of these other groups. And I think we've
Sure.
got a really really positive vibe going. Doctors ask questions. They post cases. I try to post some cases every now and then. So the conversation on that forum on the Aligner Insider Clinical Chat. That's the Facebook group and where you would find it. www.facebook.com/groups/Aligner Insider Chat. And we have everything there. It's sort of maybe in some ways mirrors the content that we've got on the Aligner Insider website. So it could be anything from which way do you bevel an attachment to I had a patient come in. I'm on the fourth refinement. They're not wearing their aligners, and they're blaming me. What should I do? So it's just really a good place. It's hard. It's look. It's hard anyway I mean, I'm not in a large group practice. I'm a solo practitioner, and still a lot of orthodontists are, Dean. And I mean, in your industry, it's not any different. You become insulated. You get into this little bubble, and I think a lot of folks kind of miss that contact, that interaction that you have with other people. I do a lot of lecturing, and I go to every conference, and there's a saying that the best learning at a conference happens in the hallways during the break. And I
Always
think
right.
that's so true. And someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, what do you do when this happens?" And that's really the purpose of that group. That's a place where, judgment-free zone where people can go and they can commiserate and interact in a way that you can, especially in the pandemic.
Exactly. I mean, it's when I've always been a people person, and we have my office, and now it's since the pandemic, Ortho Marketing, we've been working virtually, and I miss the interaction with people. So
Mhm.
now it's turned into an online thing. So I'm on a lot of different platforms and social groups to just be able to have human interaction. It might not be in person, but at least you're communicating with your colleagues,
Mhm.
and not sitting there on an island by yourself. So and it's a good way to do so. Some other programs that we have available online on our site, which is great, is we obviously this podcast here, which is getting some great feedback. We get a lot of downloads and listens and comments on it, and we have great guests. So we love doing these. It's real fun to be helping educate the community, and to be meeting all the great players in the industry. It's we've had CEO. We had Joe Hogan on, the CEO of Align Technology. We've had Mark Van Wiel, the vice president at Dental Monitoring. We've had Chris Benson. We've had some other consultants. We've had some who's who of orthodontists talk about different protocols and things that they do. It makes them different. I've had consultants, and it's fun. Well, we love doing that, and next year you'll be seeing more and more, or hearing more and more, and being able to learn as much as possible.
This podcast is brought to you by Ortho Marketing. Ortho Marketing is a full service digital marketing agency exclusively for dentists and orthodontists, providing website design, social media management, search engine optimization, and digital advertising. For more information, visit orthomarketing.com.
So we also have a nice email newsletter that we send out every week as well, which highlights some of the videos, some of the podcasts, some of the things trending in the industry. So you guys out there, sign up for our newsletter. Um, we have a YouTube channel, which
Let me just make a quick comment about that newsletter. Make sure that you've got that on your whitelist, that it's not going to your spam folder in email. I know that actually I had that happen where it got filtered out. So you check your spam filter and then just go into your email system and just make sure that you give approval for that Aligner Insider newsletter to come through.
great point. Um, then we also have a growing YouTube channel. A lot of our podcasts are being converted over to video. So if you like to use if you like to use YouTube as your podcast program, we're welcome to do that, and listen and be able to see a lot of our videos there as well. In addition, we have sponsorship programs. So we are helping now industry leaders reach out to the community and educate them a little bit more in ways that are never available before. So, any business out there that is trying to reach the orthodontic and dental community, let us know, and we were able to help you reach people that were never available to you before, through the Aligner Insider program there. So it's been an interesting year. Things have changed, and we like to adapt, and it's been a crazy ride. So now let's kind of pivot a little bit, and let's talk about, you know, Dr. Glaser and your practice and 2020 for you. Um, obviously this is something that you never thought you would be experiencing, in your, how many years you're practicing? 30 years?
You're pretty close to that.
You
Yep.
know, and so, and you had no choice but quickly adapt. And you have, embraced technologies and platforms out there to make yourself um, more efficient, more effective, and more popular to potential patients. So let's talk a little bit about that. What's some of the new programs that you've implemented in the last year, and how you adapted them to your practice? Because anybody out there that's sitting still and saying it's, the old normal will be back, sorry, that's not going to happen. Plain and
No,
simple.
no,
You know,
not
so
for a long time, quite
E
honestly.
exactly, and I don't think, and who knows? I'm not to be I'm not never a pessimist, but who knows what's gonna happen, who knows what's if once you get the vaccine, is it are you clear or not? Who knows,
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
what's some of the things that you have done in the last year that, are new as far as technologies, platforms, and just the office in general?
Well, first and foremost, I have gotten to the point now where we have fully integrated dental monitoring into the practice. So, what do I mean by that? I've been using dental monitoring for about 2.5 years, but for the first year and a half, I was not that I was dabbling. We don't put our fixed appliance patients. I don't have that many patients in braces anyway, but we were putting all our Invisalign patients on dental monitoring. But it wasn't really fully integrated because we hadn't really changed our scheduling protocols or how we were seeing patients or how we were distributing aligners and sort of flowing patients through the workflow of the practice. And the pandemic made me get on that bandwagon 100%. So now we've gone. It's funny, they used to call it appointment on demand,
Right.
and that has now changed. So that was AOD. That has now changed acronyms to OWN, OWN, which is only when necessary.
Okay.
So I've fully integrated that into my practice. So that means patients at their initial Invisalign start appointment, they get all their aligners, they get all their boxes, and then we set alerts in dental monitoring for both my team as well as the patient that will tell the patient when they have to call for an appointment to come in to, let's say, get IPR or a check or whatever it is. Fully integrated decision trees and protocols with my dental monitoring coordinator Marisol, so that is now 100% integrated, and it wasn't before. So that's number one, and that's been a great thing, Dean.
It
Uh,
is. I'm using it. So as a patient of Dr. Glazer's,
mhm.
I'm on right now aligner number 6. I've been using the dental monitoring platform and the app, and it's amazing. I don't have to come back to the office. I love you, but the fact that now through using technologies and artificial intelligence through the platform, I'm able to take scans, and you let me know, go on to the next tray or not. And one week, my teeth didn't move as much as they should have, and you told me to stay on it, which is
Yes.
interesting. You
Yeah,
know,
and listen, that's exactly the way to think about it too. It wasn't necessarily that you were getting punished. It's just that some
hmm
movements, you've got some torquing movements, which mean that we're moving your roots, and that's a complicated movement. Think about torque. Imagine like if were going to go over to your office and close the door. If you grab the doorknob and you could push with one pinky and you can close the door, right? But
right,
suppose you went over, you opened up that door again and you pushed on the hinge side, right by where the hinges are, and tried to close the door. You'd probably have to lean your entire body weight against that door to get it to close,
right.
because you don't get that leverage. And it's the same thing when we're torquing the roots. So sometimes it may be a couple of extra days, and that's the beauty of dental monitoring. And I want to just still there's still quite a bit of confusion about that, and I think there are a lot of doctors that still think that I am sort of I shouldn't I'm going to paraphrase because no one's actually accused me, I suppose, of like selling out, and becoming a like direct to consumer company, but it's the exact opposite. I see Dean's teeth every week. The AI helps us along to make decisions, but it's it's where the AI is a slave to me. I'm not a slave to the AI. So when Dean does a scan, the AI makes suggestions to him and us in my office, but we take a look at those scans every week, and if he's cruising along, that we just check that off. If he needs something, we could talk to him, and so it's an asset. It's not, like I said, it's not like the robots are telling me what to do or the robots are running my practice. It's in fact, I'm telling the robots what to do, and it's just an amazing thing. So in a pandemic, we're closed from March, middle of March till the beginning of June. Patients continue to have good continuity of care with their aligners because we could still communicate with them. Dean's got this really groovy app. He can send us direct messages if he needs to. He can see his befores and afters. I mean, these days, who doesn't like apps? I mean, everybody's got apps on their phone for whether it's DoorDash or Uber or whatever it is. So it's the way that people communicate and the way that people sort of like. What about Amazon? The way they sort of flow through, let's say, e-commerce. I mean, it's all through apps, and it's so this is not any different than what the populace is doing anyway. So it's the acceptance rate is great, as Dean says. Right. It's not like, oh, Barry doesn't want to see me. It's that, wow, Barry gave me this cool app that helps me to have my better monitoring and closer supervision of my treatment. Right.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
listen, no offense, I love you, but I'm a busy person. And if there's a way for me to get better results and to make do things, as you said, on my time, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. As I said, I'm a very busy person, and the fact that I can, get this amazing smile and get it using technologies and using your guidance, it's a no-brainer, guys.
So and,
Uh,
and patients, I mean, obviously you're on the inside, you're an insider, so you sort of understand how the business of orthodontics works too. But for general patients, lay patients, it's just a huge plus, and we have the patients love it. And so that's number one. I've also embraced more fully virtual consultations using SmileSnap, which again, there's a misconception about that, Dean. People think that I'm going to diagnose and treatment plan a patient from a couple of sketchy iPhone photos, and it's further from the truth. SmileSnap virtual consultations is not a diagnosis and treatment planning platform. It is a patient acquisition platform. And I think that I can't emphasize that enough. A diagnosis and treatment planning happens through patients coming to my office, me doing a clinical exam on the patient, taking X-rays, analyzing the X-rays, analyzing the ceph, analyzing the movements of their teeth, discussing patients' goals with the patients. That's still traditional. For
right.
the most part. So that's not what virtual consultations are. Virtual consultations are a means of acquiring new patients in a way that they understand, which is a click.
And on their terms too. That's again way it is. It's virtual and it's on demand, and it is on the way they want it now. The old days of people coming in and scheduling them for the initial consult. Um, it's kind of over. You've got to be able to work on their terms and work smarter, and that's what these technologies can do. Not necessarily, Smile Stop at any virtual
Yep.
consult platform is giving you the ability to pre-qualify people, to screen them a bit, to see if you're wasting their time or yours. If they're not ready, why you have them come in yet?
Right. Think
Put
about it
them on.
this way. So I'm going to give you an analogy. This is going to be, for some of the more old timers. So there was a time, Dean, when you couldn't advertise as a dentist. You couldn't advertise at all. And then, the laws started to loosen up, but the advertising was essentially everybody had a yellow page ad. So,
Right,
everybody got a yellow page listing. You had to pay a few dollars for that. And then people started to pay more money and they may get a quarter page or a half page or a full page ad in the yellow pages, right?
exactly.
So there was so much pushback, from the more traditionalists about how that was going to cheapen the profession and blah blah blah. And obviously, it's changed the profession from the standpoint that now we're dealing with a lot more consumerism. But I don't know if I could blame the yellow pages for that. But just in the way that people really were against like something as simple as a yellow page, or then having a website, it was the same hysteria
Hmm.
over websites, that
Right.
we were cheapening the profession. But I mean, but for those who had the yellow page ad, what I'm doing with SmileSnap is fundamentally not any different from that. It's a way to reach patients, reach consumers, and turn them into patients. And that's exactly when someone opened up the yellow pages when looking for an orthodontist. You paid for that bold faced listing, you paid for that full page ad. You weren't diagnosis and treatment planning, doing diagnosis and treatment planning from that. It's patient acquisition, and that's what SmileSnap
Right.
is. So we use that. We're now using Zoom, and other video. You can actually do video conferencing right through SmileSnap, or any pick, whether it's Doxy or whatever company you want. But another way to connect with patients with using their computers or their smartphones through video conferencing.
Right.
It's funny. It's kind of like I think about like the movie like 2001: A Space Odyssey. At the beginning, when the guy flies that shuttle up to the space station, and he makes a video call, with his wife, and like it seemed like the future, and really that's what we're doing now. We're video calling our patients, and again to help to answer questions, help them to understand more about what we do in the office, and hopefully convert them into patients. So that's fully integrated into my practice as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's talk about the staff. Obviously, if less patients are coming in and you're being more effective, um, a lot of times now you can readjust their roles in the practice, and have them work on other things. How has that affected you? Was instead of everybody stuck in with their blinders on,
Mhm.
and this is all they do. Now
Picking
you've got
bubble gum
people
out of people's braces all day long?
yeah, exactly. So now you've got people that are doing, potentially multiple jobs, which is helps them, expand their professionalism, professional career experience, and helps you.
Yep. So I
So,
can give you two concrete examples of that. So
okay.
in the last 6 months, a one of my clinical assistants, Diana, she left the office. She's a great assistant. And, we left on great terms, but she's got two younger kids, and she decided she really wanted to spend more time with her children. So she left the office. We did not replace her. It wasn't necessary. And now, just more recently, I have two full-time clinical assistants. One of those two full-time assistants is now that's Marisol. She's now my dental monitoring coordinator. And she's also now officially become our social media coordinator, because she came to me and said, Dr. Glaser, I don't have enough to do. Because that's kind of the way the office, the schedules got so light. So now she is working directly with Dean, with you and your company,
Hmm.
on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, to make sure that we have the social media assets being pushed out, whether it's images or videos, or all the kind of the Instagram or whatever it is. So just in the last couple of months, those are two fundamental changes. And despite the fact that we were closed for 11 and almost 12 weeks, my revenue is about the same as last year. You never want to really go down, but revenue is about the same as last year, even with that shutdown,
Right.
with one less staff member.
Incredible.
Yep.
And I work with a lot of practices, and a good chunk of them, a majority of them, have told me that even being shut down for 8, 10, 12 weeks, they pretty much have beat same as last year or better than the previous year,
Mhm,
which is pretty remarkable to lose a third of your, or a quarter of your,
mhm,
you know business being open and still doing those type of numbers,
mhm,
um, which is incredible to and again, like, this is the times that we live in now. People have have more, think about it, people have more disposable income. People
mhm,
are not going out for dinner, people are not going on vacations,
mhm.
so they've got money to spend, and they're putting it back into themselves, putting it back into their homes. Home improvement and self-improvement are exploding.
Yeah, talk
And
about explosion. I've had an explosion of adult patients. We always ran about 25% adults. Since the beginning of the pandemic, more than half of my new patient starts are adults.
hmm,
And I should,
I'm proud of
we used
them.
to send like an edible arrangement, a fruit basket to our good like referrers. I should send one to Zoom, because patients come in and say, my God, I'm doing all these Zoom meetings. I'm so embarrassed by my teeth, because I don't usually see their teeth when they're speaking.
Right.
And especially, I also should thank like the crappy webcams, because when you have like a sort of a dark webcam, it just makes your teeth look darker, and it makes them look bad. And patients are coming in, and they're like, I see my teeth on Zoom, and I'm humiliated, and I feel like I'm teleworking anyway, and I have a mask. It's a great time to do my teeth. So we've had this like explosion of adult patients. So
Great,
who knew?
great. And because somebody like me is leading the way, and they see a trendsetter is able to
Mhm.
jump in and do it, and they're like, Dean's doing it, I got to do it. So thank me.
There you go. Dean, did I ever give you the whitening gel? I can't remember if we gave it to you or
Nope,
not. Oh, we
nope.
forgot to. All right, I'll have to
I'll have to
drop
get that
some off to
next.
you, because
Yep,
now it's a good time to start whitening your teeth too.
yep. Okay, dokie. Great, because I'm drinking a lot of the coffee there. um, all right. So now let's put our little crystal ball hats on, and let's see. Moving forward for the next 6 months or so, um, how do you see things going? Are you programs that you implemented into the practice? Are they here to stay? You're going to go back to the old ways, or what? How do you think you're going to embrace change one way or the other again.
Yeah, they're definitely here to stay. Fear is such a problem in business.
Right.
People get so afraid of making a change, and in a situation like this, where like I felt was forced to make these changes, it helped to push me, over the edge, I suppose, into making the changes. But it's all great stuff. I mean, it's relatively inexpensive. I mean, I'm not like spending an arm and a leg on all this technology.
Right.
So yeah, we're going to continue to Smile Snap virtual consultations. Invisalign has their own platforms for that, which are actually getting sort of like they were kind of rolled out hastily, I suppose. I don't mean it that way. I think Align Technology did a really nice thing by pushing some maybe early beta technologies like virtual consults out for the pandemic, at no charge. So I don't mean it in a bad way. I think that they were wonderful in doing that. But those technologies now, having been out there for about 6 8 months, are getting really good. So I may consider, let's say, different platforms or try other platforms for things like virtual consults and stuff like that. But no, we're going to continue to do only when necessary, only when needed appointments using dental monitoring, which gets better and better every week too. We're going to continue to do virtual consultations, Zoom, all that kind of stuff is here to stay, and we're going to continue to try to ramp up our social media game, which I think we do a pretty good job at, but there's always room for
Mhm.
improvement there too. So
Yep.
no, definitely. Listen, and on top of everything else, I mean, I now work. The typical work week is somewhere between 2.5 days to 3 days per week, where let's say 5 years ago I was working 4.5 days per week, and with the same revenue. Um,
There you go. So
it,
work is
same.
four
Let's say, put it this way: same gross
4 hour work
revenue
week.
and a better net because
Yep.
I've got less staff overhead.
Yep. The
So
four
what's not to like?
the 4 hour work week is coming to fruition.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
bet.
which is a great thing there.
Yeah, and
Um,
like, just one other thing before we sign off, Dean. So, what do I do with that extra time? I mean, I some of it, honestly, I goof off,
sure.
try to catch up on some
Well,
Netflix stuff. But on
yeah,
top of it,
you earn
I
the
have
opportunity to do
several
that.
other businesses going at the same time. We've got the Aligner Insider business that I have plenty of time to do. I have the Clear Aligner course, clearalignercourse.com. That's successful. That's been very successful with Gary Brigham. Our next group is going to start on February 1st. So if you're looking for a real intense experience and a real great learning experience about all of the stuff that I'm talking about, both clinical and practice management, go to clearalignercourse.com and sign up for our next course, which is going to start on February 1st. So it gives me time for both more leisure as well as other revenue streams, which it's always good to have your not have your eggs in one basket, I think. So I've got my
Right.
practice, obviously, that's the breadwinner, but I've got these other little things in addition to the teaching that I do with Align that produces a nice amount of income. It pays for the kids, it pays for law school and college, and my wife's car and a whole bunch of other vacations. So it's
Great.
not bad. It's good. I mean,
It's
I
good.
don't
You
think
work
there's anything
hard.
wrong with making a living. It's a
I
good thing.
agree. If you're working hard, if you get up and you work hard, you should be compensated for it. Otherwise, why bother?
Yeah.
So it's great stuff. And again, I had a blast doing this with you this year. I'm excited to see what next year is going to bring for us, Aligner Insider, and how what the marketing is going to continue to make Dr. Glaser the number one um, practice in the market, and how people are
Absolutely.
traveling far to come see you now. Quick story, Barry called me about a few weeks back and said, "Dean, I got a few new starts this week. Patients came and they traveled, half hour, 45 minutes away to come see me."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "How'd you find?" They found you on Google,
You
and
bet.
they had to pass 50, 100 other practices in order to get to you.
Hmm.
And so it's great to be able to see the marketing work and how important it is for practice to do so. And I'm real excited to see next year how we could take more technologies and more opportunities for you to really take things home and make it so you're working even less days and making more money.
Yeah, now listen, Dean, it's all of that is 100% true. And I know you share with me stories about, let's say, prospective clients that are, let's say, maybe concerned about the expense, but you have to pay to play. And it's, the investment that I've made into your company, the return on that, the ROI is incredible. So I'm not
Thank you.
spending that money. I'm investing it. I mean, for a patient to come to me and I'll say, "Wow, you're coming from Larchmont." I had two patients back to back come from Larchmont. Like you can't get there from here. Larchmont is in Westchester, but it was well beyond Mars. It's easily an hour away. I said, wow, you had to probably drive past literally 200 orthodontists to come to my practice. And they went, well, you're the best. And so where does that come from? It
That
comes from
Putting you
marketing.
online, right? Which is great. And you know, thank you so much for that little plug there. And um, it's pretty important to realize, guys, that as like I just said, it's an investment. It's not an expense. Marketing
Right.
is not like your rent or your phone bill or electric. It brings back three, four, five, six, 8 times what you're spending. Okay, think about it. If your
But you got to
financial
open up.
advisor,
I'm telling you, you got to open up your checkbook, and you can't be
you
afraid. If you
gotta,
do it,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like it's from Breaking Bad. We're always looking for movie or TV show
Mhm.
quotes. There's no
Right.
half measures. You can't do it half-assed. You have to make a plan. You have to commit to it, and you have to commit some dollars. And if you do, just like if you commit to the stock market this year, you would not be disappointed.
Exactly. And people did well in the stock market. They made 30, 40, 50%. But imagine making three, four, five, 600%.
Mhm.
If you invest, 30, 40, $50,000 in marketing, you're going to be bringing back two, three, $400,000 in revenue.
That's
Think
right.
about that, guys. How can you make that kind of money anywhere else? You can't. So
Mhm.
if you have to invest in your practice, marketing is the only way for you to take the practice to the next level and to grow, and it's a necessity. And I say this a million times: if you don't do it, somebody else will, and
That's
you
right.
want to lose patience by just being afraid. And it's not difficult to make that return on investment with the right partner in place and the right strategies in place. It's pretty much runs on itself. It's a no-brainer if you have the right team behind you and the right partner in it, and
I
that's
couldn't
hopefully
agree more.
that's where Ortho Marketing stops in there. So I look forward to working with anybody next year that's looking for help and wants to dominate their market. Um, Please reach out to us at orthomarketing.com. So again, with that said, Dr. Glazer, I had a great year with you. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and
Likewise.
look forward to next year. And everybody out there in podcast land, enjoy the holidays, enjoy the turn of that calendar because everybody can't wait to get 2020 behind us and make 2021 the best year ever. So everybody be safe, be happy, keep smiling, and become an insider. Thanks so much. Bye bye.